Hello, this is J.N.S, and I just want to do a real quick video about the etymology of the class. Oh, let me mute the feedback. So, we've been talking about like this chaos intelligence realm, and me in particular, I have been expounding on what that means in regards to the divine feminine. But the word chaos itself, it has a very negative connotation in society. And so I wanted to do a clear up of the original definition of the word chaos, and um, that will help me, at least give my vision out of what I see this chaos as, because it is a bit different than the term that is used today to describe like disorder and destruction or havoc. That is not the original definition of the word chaos, and it's certainly not how I see it in my mind's eye. So we're just going to go straight into it, the etymology of the word chaos. So um, it always meant a void or chasm, this formless primordial matter, and that obviously it has its roots in Greek, and in Latin. So in Greek, chaos is spelled with the K, and then um, in the Greek etymology, it always meant a void of primordial matter, as well as in Latin. And so the English word chaos with the C is obviously borrowed from the Greek word chaos. And chaos was a male god. Um, but believe it or not, this version of chaos, even in its Greek variation, comes from Judaic. It comes from an even earlier form of that, and that stems from the regions of Ethiopia and the regions of Egypt, because the word that the Greeks use to describe an abyss, obviously that being chaos, but this abyss that comes from uh, Ethiopia. And so it was originally always thought to be an emptiness that existed before things come into being. Okay. And it was always, and it was sometimes um, referred to Tartarus, the abyss of Tartarus as well. And so when I'm using this word chaos, this term, I'm specifically talking about primordial waters, primordial formlessness. I'm not referring to the state of disorder, to the state of like destruction or any of those things. So when we talk about the chaos intelligence realm, we're talking about the first state of existence. And when we talk about chaos from the Latin etymology, it literally means the first state of the universe, the formless state of primordial matter personified. So this could be darkness and night, infinite and empty space. This is all what the Latin version of chaos means, or it can also mean an expanse of air. Also, when I'm talking about this resonance, when I'm talking about the primordial waters, the primordial darkness, and we talk about this chaos intelligence realm, that's all we're talking about, the first state of the universe. Okay, so that is before you get to resonance, before you get to this expanse of air. Your resonance, which would be your composition of your Heka spirit and air, and this in floodgating of the waters. And that's why when Yeshua says one cannot enter the kingdom of heaven unless one is born of spirit and water, that's a code. That's a very esoteric teaching for something much deeper. We're talking about going beyond mind beyond mind, a bliss consciousness. That's that level where we're at when we talk about this chaos intelligence. And so it's important to to get that out, because it's like when the indoctrination that society has around the term darkness, around the term chaos, is like, oh my gosh, this person is, what kind of stuff is that? And then also the perversion, the misinterpretation of these teachings. There has been a gross misinterpretation of these teachings among many societies, among esoteric schools of thought, those who think they have this knowledge. There's been some gross misinterpretation. And so um while the information is in front of you, like in Genesis 1, it says in the beginning there was darkness, there was this dark waters, it's there. And so that's what we're talking about. That's what chaos meant. And in Psalms 18, where it talks about uh, this being with wings that came down, that descended from the heavens, and darkness was under her feet. Darkness was under the waters. This is who David was praying to. This melanated king obviously was praying to for help, and she drew him out of these, from his strong enemy and stuff. This is all. I mean, in the book it says he, but it was originally written she. And so this is obviously an archetype. I'm not trying to say this like these things literally happen or you have to believe this. It's not the point. The point is that these concepts are very old. They're very much in front of everyone. It's not like it's so hidden you couldn't put it together, but it's just the negative connotation and then the outright misinterpretation of what these things mean. And so when we talk about this first state of the universe, this formless state of primordial matter being personified, this empty space, this expanse of air, this is what we mean when we talk about mind behind mind. This is the energy that allows for that spark of creation to spark a galaxy, to spark a universe, to spark a solar system, to spark a star, a planet, or even the creation of the species of single cell organisms, of DNA itself. That is the energy that we're talking about, this chaos intelligence realm. And what's beautiful is that this chaos intelligence realm is very much a realm that's pretty passive. It doesn't get it too much involved in any species affairs and any interdimensional beings affairs. But what's really fascinating is that this chaos intelligence realm, we've been talking about bringing heaven to earth in this form of Christ consciousness. That realm is on this planet right now. I remember when it touched down. I remember, all the things I was seeing interdimensionally, and then people were like, "Oh, this person just went off the deep end." But I find it very funny that I can find intelligence officers confirming what I'm saying. Mystics who have experience working with the UN and with certain intelligence, as well as certain military bases, are talking about what I'm talking about in terms of interdimensional consciousness, interdimensional beings, all this stuff. And we're talking about is late as 2 weeks ago. Like I just watched, like, I want to say like an hour and a half video long of someone saying these things that I've been saying, and they have a closer, a closer intake on this information, because they were the one that was actually working with the UN and working in the intelligence field. And they're saying that, so I'm just like, the stuff I was saying months ago, or when I was talking about, this energy floodgating this planet. Granted, it was just so much energy to handle it, to actually get it out at the time. But when we're talking about this chaos intelligence realm, uh, bringing this, how do we say this? Bringing heaven to earth in a sense. But again, this is all a code. This is a code. And so I just find that fascinating that that realm would find it so so necessary to come to Mother Tiamat, to come to Mother Gaia. And it was funny because I was channeling this energy earlier today, and Primordial Mother was like, "Oh, Earth is our sister, like this is our, the Earth is a part of the, the creation of, it's a sister, and we have to look at. So we see she going through some things, and we touching down, And I was just like, wow, like, and obviously that's the governance aspect of the chaos intelligence realm, because there are interdimensional beings in the chaos intelligence realm that could care less, to be honest. Particularly some of the ones that have like more of the kid consciousness, the kid energy, the angel energy, which that would be like the angel level in that dimension, the kid energy. They're kind of like, oh, okay, whatever. Those are like ants to us, like, not in a disrespectful way. It's just like those are like ants, and those are like potato bugs, and those are like uh, they're just not concerned, but the highest realm of that governance system actually sees humanity as very, very special, as well as all the other species that are on this planet, as very special, as very it's just a lot of love towards this planet and towards this towards humanity and a lot of compassion. And so it's like it's like been a mission to um, get to the right portals, to activate the right number of energies on this planet to be able to carry out the project that this chaos intelligence realm wants to carry out on this planet Earth. And so I found that very interesting. I was like, wow, like why would that energy be concerned? Because it's so many other um, dimensions in which those particular galactic intelligences just don't care, because it's a free will planet, because they feel like, well, you have the absolute right to do whatever you want on a free will planet, even if that means you self-destruct, or even if that means there's low governing force that infringes upon da, da, da. And even if you have allowed you even have the right to create those states of consciousness where you could even keep people in a certain state of unawareness. Other beings, it's not so much a moral thing with them. They just don't have that conception that we have. But the chaos intelligence realm, the governance realm, does. And so that realm is like, there's a lot of violation of universal laws that are being taken place on this planet, unbeknownst to even humans themselves. And so that is why you see the concern with that REM being done on this planet. Now, last week, I had like this, had a dream, and in the dream, the person was like, "Let's climb Jacob's ladder." So I'm looking like, I don't know nothing about Jacob. I don't know nothing about Jacob's ladder. So I actually go to the internet. Obviously, I'm looking at stuff. Da, 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 da. And come to find out, this was a code. This Jacob's ladder was obviously this dissension, this ascending and descension of angels uh from different dimensions to Earth, back and forth, going up and down, but come to find out that it was a code for the DNA activation of humans. And I have to be careful, because again, a lot of this stuff that I say is channeled, but it's still heavily, 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 guarded in terms of not wanting a lot of this information to come out. I'm talking about from from the Earth level. From the chaos intelligence level, this would be like baby food. It's nothing. At one point of thousands and thousands of years ago, this information was all known, even to like the melanated people, the melanated gods that once were, ruled the planet. And so it's not a big deal in our eyes, in my eyes. And so this Jacob's ladder was a code to activate the dormant DNA of humans, to ascend and descend from to interdimensions, from two dimensions, vast and beyond various star systems, because humans are a hybridization. How do we say this? They're a hybrid project, a hybrid species of various star systems. And that's what makes humans special and fascinating to other intelligences that just view in our mirror, so to speak. They watch to see, like, okay, what are they doing, and some just don't care. They do. Some are, how do I say this, just because we are a hybrid of that DNA that can actually ascend and descend through various star systems, doesn't mean that we're more advanced than some of the species that, like, say, we can go reach up to, that we can actually contact or be or reach their dimension. I'm just, getting a little tongue tied there. So what that means is that, say for instance, you may, I don't even want to get into all of this because we're just not ready yet. Society's just not ready yet. Some aspects of society is like, there's some communities out there, but I have to kind of, you know I'll just say this: the beings that we have a part of this DNA from, they are much more advanced technologically than us. Some of them, but they don't have this Jacob's ladder DNA code. They just have theirs. They don't have this humanoid Homo sapien code with that's this mixture that actually has some connections to the even the chaos intelligence realm. This is a very fascinating thing. And so while they can go, you know, to the Andromeda stars, to Sirius A, Sirius B, Sirius C. That's why you see like many of the melanated people, including those in America, including those in Africa, talking about, well, I'm from Sirius A, like the Dogon tribe. The Dogon tribe was very clear that they came from the Sirius star systems. And then you have the, you know, some of the Indians over here talking about, they were very clear that they came from the Orion belt, that they came from the Pleiades star system. How did this information get buried? But for thousands of years, they bragged about it. They knew about it. The Mayans, the Aztecs, the Incas. We can prove this. They told us clear as day. I'm from the Pleiades star system, from the Orion belt. This is what these ancient civilizations talked about. And they very much knew about the constellations, how far they were away from Earth, all types of stuff. So these people, these quote unquote primitive people, quote unquote, no one can argue that the Dogon tribe is primitive. They're not primitive. They're they're amazing. You know, we can argue that their intelligence levels through the roof. Same with the Bushman tribes of South Africa. Just see how you want to talk about some quantum entanglement and the things that they can do with their consciousness, how they jump in and out of trances and stuff and out of dimensions. And so you know, these primitive people that still live off the land and whatnot. And so you know, back to what I was saying, they were very clear. These people were very clear of the star systems that they came from. So why are, you know, these people saying these things? It's because of that DNA. And so there's been a mixing of the DNA, obviously. And there was a process of evolution to get it to this point. Not evolution in the Western sense, the biological, it's biological in its raw concept, but but the way that the Western science makes it seem like this devoid of spirit, devoid of consciousness, that's where they go wrong. Devoid of acknowledging the role that the universe played in creation, and making it so materialistic and uh, earth based. That's where the biology went wrong, because um, again, the chemical composition that you would need to even make a single cell organism, to make a life, to even start the evolution phase, clearly can be found in the cosmos. This can be confirmed. I wrote a book called the epistemology and the power knowledge of the out of Africa theory. You know, like we're just trying to really deconstruct the out of Africa theory from the Western point of view. This was not to bash Africans. This was a very high level scholarly material questioning the out to Africa theory as written by the British scholars and some of the American scholars over here. That was not written by melanated people themselves. And so I was questioning things, and I ripped through their epistemology and their arguments, and obviously brought forth my own as well. But I make a clear case that, you know, this that we start from this electromagnetism. We start from the build that generates these building blocks of life, of the nitrogen, of the oxygen, of the hydrogen, and that all starts in the cosmos. And so, you know, and then obviously they aligning with the things that our ancestors have said, melanated people have said regarding my ancestors. You know, I don't think we can outrule that. I don't think we can devoid. One of the horrific things that science has done is devoid consciousness and the cosmos out of evolution and out of the story completely. And so that's what's preventing their hangups when they talk about, oh, we can't understand quantum mechanics, or this law is not adding up, or this the theory of relativity it has holes in it. We don't understand black holes, and we don't understand string theory. We don't understand, because you keep you once you lock out resonance, once you keep avoiding the topic of resonance and vibration, once you keep avoiding the topic of consciousness, you're not going to be able to solve nothing. You're not going to be able to understand anything. And so until they can catch up with that, that's what's holding them back. And I think it's by design. Obviously, clearly, that's by design, because that's where that's where, when once you want to start to unravel consciousness in that sense, and unravel energy frequency, like this quantum energy. Oh yeah, you about to have a bunch of humans waking the fuck up. And so it's clearly by design. But back to the topic of that Jacob's ladder and being the code in the Bible for this intergalactic dormant, this activation of the intergalactic dormant DNA for humans to ascend as angels, mind you, ascend and descend up the ladder from heaven to earth. This was dimensional. That's what that meant. That human can certainly go to Andromeda or to the Acterian dimension, and all these different things that they could do. The Pleiades, they can do all these things once they act, because they have those codes in their DNA. And I'm just going to be very frank with you. A couple months ago, whew, I don't even want to go there, but I'll say this. For those of you that are starting to understand a little bit more about the power of their mind and their intergalactic mentalism, say you're trying to understand, like, well, how do I won't say activate, because I can't promise what worked for me will work for you. You know what I mean? Because with me, it was an emergency, and I would have to say it was other archetype entities helping me on that. But I do know that all I had to do was have a picture of the constellations of the Orion, all of the constellations that you can think of just in front of me, and point. And I immediately knew the distance of where it was from me in terms of light years. They knew where I was. They had every single last spatial navigation, every single geolocation tag that you could think to know where I was in this particular place of the universe. It was known instantly. And so this was all through the mind. This is the intergalactic mentalism I was talking about. And so all it took was like, okay, because at that time I really needed backup and help. Like I needed it was, again, we all know about the Lionsgate portal and all this stuff started going on. It was a lot of energy coming through. And so it was a lot of energy that came after me because I was talking too much, quote unquote, about stuff that was being channeled through me. And I didn't know that it was be so controversial to say certain things. You know what I mean? It was just so, I had one group, one organization literally trying to kill me. And then so I'm like, oh, I need help. And so I do remember very clearly, and again, this was, I'll just be frank, it was a channeling, it was a dream. I'll just say it was a dream. It was a dream. And Tahuti was literally, he was showing me some stuff, and he was showing me how to do the calculations. And then from there, we took it. And, but I do remember just merely needing to look at the Pleiades constellation, merely needing to look at the Orion constellation, merely needing to look at the Andromeda constellation. All this stuff you can find on YouTube, and they'll give you like these star clusters. And for me, all I needed to do was point, think about it, and communicate. Tell them where I was at. Tell them this, da, 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 and this DNA, whatever it was, it activated. And then it was like Tahuti was doing these chants, and then there was this activation just going on. And so that's what that code for that Jacob's ladder was. Now I'm not like, again, I'm just saying what worked for me. I'm not here to try to say, oh, here guys, this is how you do it. Because I honestly think there is more than one way, because again, we all have different codes, even though we are Homo sapien, humanoid, we look like humans, da da da. We can have different elements of that DNA more so than others. And so for my genetic marker and even spiritual genealogy, Tahuti was the one that helped me, that gave me that information about all you need to do is merely think about these constellations. If you have a picture of it, draw it out, find it. You can just go on the internet and get the picture of it. You can think about it, and you can receive the activation straight from that constellation. You tell them, I'm trying to activate this DNA, da, 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 and they'll hear it. They'll hear it, and boom, it was there. And then with the chaos intelligence realm, they needed those specific energies from every constellation in this galaxy to circumnavigate this particular planet, because planet Earth, when you guys are talking about you having these headaches, you're talking about, all these things you guys are going through. Well, planet Earth is going through a severe upgrade, a severe cleansing, a severe, with the solar storms and these things that are going on with the Schumann resonance. It's not a bad thing for humans, but there's been a lot of work. It's a lot of work being done etherically on this planet, etherically. And so, in a sense, you guys may feel like there's so many people talking about they have headaches. There's so many people talking about they feel their emotions all over the place. And I tried, and I think my last video, I tried to give some tips on how to deal with that in terms of, the peppermint under the nose and taking your anti-inflammatories, the red light therapy, keeping that vibration high as possible consciously, and so that you can manage this upgrade, and manage it well. But when we talk about like certain inorganic beings, like these Dracos, they and there's different types of Dracos, by the way. So it's like, it's like this thing where we talk about, we hear some of the occultists and esoteric teachers talk about, oh, the reptilians, and it's just like has such a negative connotation. And it's like, do you know how many classifications of reptilian species there are? Like thousands. So it's like, which one are you talking about? You talking about the ones that are enslaving the consciousness of humanity, that those beings? Okay, I get it. But it's like, when the other ones that they're looking like, why we ain't got shit to do with this, but anyways, from their perspective, from those beings' perspective, they see planet Earth as being under siege. They see it as being under siege, where from, if you're a human that is awakening, that is awakening to their true self, the human sees it as there's a cleansing going on. There's this heaven on earth, this Christ consciousness, but the ones that's been causing all the fuckery, they're like, we're under siege, we're talking all etherically now. We're talking esoterically. And so that's because of the chaos intelligence realm, the first state of the universe that is floodgating, that energy floodgating, but also the call to all the other constellations, to all the other dimensions and star systems that the Homo sapien human has within their DNA, that's dormant junk DNA. That's why they told you your DNA was junk, by the way, so that you think that you won't activate it. And so you're going to see who's like controlled opposition in all of this, because what's going to happen is, what I'm saying is going to become very self-evident. You're going to see more and more people come forward talking about these experiences. More and more people, there already are. I can show you people talking about the hybridization of Homo sapien DNA and whatnot, and in an intergalactic sense. So what I'm saying is actually not, new. And so in that regard, you're going to see people come forward, and then you're going to see other prominent teachers that we all like, as far as like in the esoteric sense, these mystics, they're going to come forward and try to kind of downplay what we're talking about. And so you want to be careful for that, because there's a lot of controlled opposition. There's a lot of people that's on the payroll of these Dracos, of these inorganic beings that took an oath and they're under oath. And so they dare to just mislead humanity. And so you want to be careful of that as well. But you also don't want nobody selling you snake oil and bullshit like that. So anybody say they trying to charge you thousands of dollars to activate some DNA, when all your ass got to do is go to YouTube and look up some damn constellations from Sirius, come on, you're like, just look at some pictures. This is the high science, mental science that we were talking about was going to be activated on this planet as well. And so you also want to be careful of that. You want to be careful of people talking about they're going to pay this and they did it. It's thousands of for one. I suspect that this could be an individual thing as far as that activation of that DNA, in terms of what that looks like. I think it could look different for everybody, but if not, it's something that is going to happen naturally as well. Some people it's happening faster than others. And this was all about, like we talk about, it's a little bit different than like the Kundalini stuff, the Kundalini activation. It's a little bit different than that, I have to say. It's a little bit, to me, from what I'm gathering. And so I would say just be careful to stay away from people, because this is all good. I might be a little early now, but like I'm telling you, people are going to be talking about, you know, their activations. They're going to be talking about their visitations to all these different dimensions, their visitations to these different star systems and different beings that they met, and the different archetypes that they created in their mind, and the different Buddha lands. And they're going to be talking about all this stuff. Humans, just random humans. And so I may be a little early. They already are, you know, they already are. It's just it's just not self-evident. And obviously that material is heavily shadow banned. And all those people are in like groups where they hide information from the rest of humanity. And so it's certainly already being done, you know, because nothing new is under the sun. But yes, back to what I'm saying. This idea of the chaos, the first state of the universe, the formless state of the primordial matter, the chaos intelligence beings that are here now are from that realm. That's all it means, the first state of the universe. Now, what people are saying is havoc, and what people are saying is disorder. That's not chaos. Okay, that could be described as Nix. That's what that originally was back in the day. And that's where you have like war and famine and all this destruction. That was Nix. And Nix was a god that only Zeus feared, by the way. That was a female. That's what you guys are now describing as chaos. That originally was not chaos. Chaos could also be seen in some people see it as like the underworld, but again, we're talking about the first state of the universe, primordial matter personified, this infinite expanse of air. And so it's the original state of things. Okay, that's all it means. And now the current definition that you guys are using for chaos also comes from the word Ovid. Uh, that is in which you have a formless mass that produce an ordered universe. And so again, these concepts can be found in all religions. Actually, my upcoming book, the Nakhti Queen Mothership 3, The Language of the Gods and the Age of the Divine Feminine, I break down the concept of primordial mother and primordial darkness in all religions, literally Judaism, Christianity, Buddhism, Hinduism, obviously the Egypt pantheon, Kemet, rather, African, ATR. Like literally, this concept is so old and ancient, it's not even funny. And so I broke it down, what it looks like. Then we talked about the age of the divine feminine, and all religions, the goddess iconography that was removed, including even in Sufism, you know, which is Islam. We talked about that as well. Obviously, with Gnosticism and with Sophia. Yeah, so I break down a lot of that in the book. And so I talked about particularly this what these original terms had meant, how bohu and tohu, when we talk about darkness and air and void and all this. And so I think that again, I may be a little early on these things, but eventually it would all become self-evident, you know, and it won't be uh you know, something that's so esoteric anymore, and it won't be something that can be easily misinterpreted, because the chaos intelligence beings who've had all of our knowledge stolen and misinterpreted, we're back now, and we're kind of like, that's not what we meant. What are you guys doing? And so, you know, and it's not so much of like, oh, you mean you need to do it this way, you need to follow it this way. um the universe has a way of balancing things out. But for those who subscribe to particular taxonomy of a particular, say, spiritual systems or particular religions, the chaos intelligence beings are not here to tell you stop doing that or stop following it. That's not the point. Part of planet Earth, and this is something that I'll be doing a video on, because again, not all of the laws in the universe was revealed to humanity. Um, and we have some like questions about whether or not that was the right thing to do. But one of the laws is taxonomy, the law of taxonomy, the law of catalog. And so a part of being on planet Earth is this idea of exploring consciousness through the IPU, through the intergalactic mentalism. I'll explain eventually what all this stuff is. But the law of taxonomy and the law of catalog, it states that pretty much you're free to explore these arbitrary states of taxonomy and to create taxonomy. Granted, you're still within the obviously the laws of the universe, and so the chaos intelligence beings that were sent down here that created these IPUs, and even the original fallen angels that were sent down here to create IPUs via schools of thoughts and philosophies or whatever, that is not what we take issue with. So again, the agenda is not to pin people against one another based on religion and these, our room, the chaos intelligence room is so beyond that, because it is the room that created the galaxies and the universes. So it will be beyond such a level of taxonomy that low. It's a low level, pretty much. It's like, okay, it's like kids playing with the toys. You know how kids play with building blocks or with Legos, and that's they're figuring out things. They're figuring out their brain skills. They're playing around with their brain when they're putting these logos together, and they're exploring taxonomy in a sense. You got the different color logos, the different block logos. It's like watching kids play with logos. Seriously, that's how we view that. And so taxonomy, it's like, okay, that's cool for that particular dimension, and that's how we view it on planet Earth. This thing of catalog and taxonomy, or watching the beings that we've mentored go to planet Earth and create IPUs in the forms of various empires, the forms of various dynasties, religions, philosophies. That was something that, it's like watching your kid, do their thing. And so while those things took a turn for a horrific, in some aspects, on this planet in terms of taxonomy, I think had humans known or had not forgotten that they were from that place of transcendence, that they were this hybridization of the star systems themselves, right? And that they were to explore consciousness through the intergalactic mentalism and through taxonomy. None of the things that you see now on this planet would be the case. And one of the things that I am suspecting, and I'm doing some research, but one of the things that I am suspecting personally is that information was available on this planet, and that someone hid it, or an organization or a very powerful group hid it, in terms of this idea of taxonomy, this idea that you're playing, that you're pretty much the video game player, and so that's something that I'm still doing some research on, but I got a heavy feeling that I could probably find some material, because this was channeled to me when I'm talking about like this law of taxonomy, this law of catalog for this dimension, to help with the creation of those IPUs. Granted, you're within a full awareness that you are this transcendent hybridization of the star systems of, in that sense. Somehow humans forgot that. Somehow humans don't know that, and somehow they've been brainwashed with particular IPUs in which they now separate themselves based on those arbitrary taxonomy, but then they use it to fight one another. They use it to kill one another, start wars, start drama. You see the situation with the Jews and the Muslims fighting, and Hamas and all this stuff. Somebody is orchestrating all of that. That's clearly orchestration, social engineering. Like you see the black against the white. Oh, the white people wants to feel superior to the melanated gods. It's like all this stupid shit. It's like it's so low level. It's like, what happened down here? Because it's like the law of taxonomy and the law of catalog, coming from the awareness of that hybridization and that transcendence, should not have led to this. So somehow that information was all buried, and so I'm gonna get down to the bottom of it. Kylie, she gets it down to the bottom of things. And so I wanted to do that quick video on that. yeah, that's what I want to talk about. Tomorrow, or later this week, I have a really important topic with the age of divine feminine. We're on part 6, I believe. Yeah, we're on part 6, and this one, my last part 5 was a little, I wasn't trolling, but I was just, it was just little off the script. Just it wasn't scholarly. It was just something real. I just wanted to talk with the ladies about the dating and the relationship. So I was listening to that. I was like, I'm so obnoxious. Sometimes I get to be so obnoxious. So forgive me. But part 6, man, it's gonna be I got a really it's a very serious video. We're talking about the true forms of monarch mentalism through this the honeycomb mind. This is something that got perverted down here as well. It was a part of the teachings of the Order of Kali. It was a part of the teachings that was given to the Atlanteans, in which the Atlanteans were supposed to come down here, those and give it to uh, the humans. This information and all so this stuff got so fucked up because the monarch mentalism that we're talking about in terms of directional mapping of visual space in the mind, somehow down here that got turned into the MK Ultra program. And so we're like, what the hell? And so the divine feminine is back, obviously. And so we're teaching, what the these original sciences meant for the first time ever. And this stuff is revealed uh through a series of dreams and transcendental meditations, and so we're going to be talking about hexadirectional mapping of visual space through the mind. So it's grid-like modulation in the brain. We're going to talk about how that grid-like coding occurs in the brain and what the original monarch mentalism was meant for, the ruling interdimensional beings that would create IPUs through dynasties. So obviously this is how Egypt got to be the civilization that they were. So this is the science behind the making of an Egyptian pharaoh or an African king or an Indian chief. Melanated people sciences that that was given to the men by the women. Again, this was a series of it was coming from the etheric space of interdimensional consciousness descending down to planet Earth, and it's like playing telephone. By the time it gets to Earth, it's like it's all fucked up. you know and so we're going to talk about how that happened. It wasn't always that way. You do have remnants of how it was originally practiced on planet Earth in ancient times, thousands of years ago. But since the descent of melanated people, and once that Queen Mothership got overthrown, like I've been saying for the last 3 years, we see that science that people couldn't understand and couldn't misinterpret, or that the black man gave to uh, uh, the white man. We don't, whatever they did, they turned that into this satanic mind control type thing through the fragmentation of the mind. And so they use trauma-based mind control, to do this fragmentation and to create purposely dissociative states for control. But that science comes from the divine feminine, and it was not originally that. It was monarch mentalism to have those beings, the royal bloodlines, pretty much be able to tap into, kind of like the show Shaman King, where you go into your reservoir of your oversoul and you can tap into, everyone has these different oversouls that have these gifts and power that you amass through this to tap into those archetypal dimensions. It's the same thing for someone who has to rule a dynasty or an empire. And some of this stuff is passed through bloodline, by the way. Some of us naturally have this because it's been in our bloodline for thousands and thousands of aeons. If you went through slavery, even if you're a Black American and think you were just some slave or somebody from Africa and all this stuff, it's still in the blood. It's still in the DNA. You can't get rid of that. So some of you may come from, you activate, you find out that you have like all these different types of gifts, or you're able to tap into all these different dimensions. It's most likely It could be the grid like modulation from the remnants of the monarch mentalism that was of ancient, or it could be the satanic MK Ultra shit. And unfortunately for some of us, it's both. Some of us have been put um, through both, and that's a wild one. And so the beautiful thing about that is you can transmute all of that in an alchemical stage. You can transmute if you that honeycomb mind to what it originally was for. And so we'll talk about what that looks like. We'll talk about even some of the people that's dealing with. You could tell when people deal with honeycomb mind. You can tell. Some of them are completely fucking genius, brilliant. Some of the most brilliant people, the highest IQs, or some of the most brilliant ideas that you'll ever see. So that's not the point. To shame this phenomena. However, it's just to do some correction from the divine feminine chaos intelligence realm of what this originally was and how to originally do it. You do not need trauma based mind control to active to um, create that grid like a modulation of magnetic intracranial activity in the brain. So intracranial just means in the skull, energy from the energy in the skull. Okay, and so there's a process for how that looks in terms of the honeycomb mind that we're talking about interdimensionally. And so again, it's some deep stuff that we're going to cover. I wanted to cover it today, but I was like, man, I gotta really go into like the abyss of as far as like that inner. That's a lot of energy to handle. Like so I say, you know what, I'll stick with what we talked about today and go into that into another day. And so I'll talk to you guys later. I think yeah, that's all I wanted to cover. I'll talk to you guys later. Oh, hey, Amaruxi. Hey, hey, girl. I'll talk to you guys. Bye.